Today, to my right, are somewhat icons. They are icons in the space, and that's Bob Ingram to my far right and Bob Brown right next to me. And we're going to be talking with you over the next few times together here, going for gold, and how we can bring together corporations and minority-serving institutions to work hand in hand and side by side to create outreach and channels of access for all. In this segment, we are going to talk about the evolution of the gold standard and our mission to accelerate survivorship in both workplace and community health through a grassroots movement in partnership with leading companies, historically Black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutions, and communities to bridge the gap in both access to care and access to treatment. Over the past 18 months, we have refreshed the gold standard, which began at the board's direction and via the leadership of Dave Shepperly, Marcelo Targino, Michelle Bennett, Otis Brawley, and Ron Getzel. As you heard Joya's survivorship story prior to Dr. Gerberdine, our focus on advancing health equity through the gold standard began in January 2020, and we retooled the gold standard accreditation and its impact. The gold standard accreditation has 5 pillars. And by the way, the gold standard impacts over 200 companies today, and that represents over 7 million lives are impacted through the tenets of the gold standard. Those pillars are health education and navigation, early detection and prevention, advancing treatment and clinical trials, survivorship, and our final bookend, well-being. From this work evolved Going for Gold, led by our ambassadors, Dr. Otis Brawley, Dr. Elder Granger, Mr. Robert Brown, I refer to him as Bob, our friend Bob, and our other friend Bob, Mr. Robert Ingram, and Joya Delgado Harris, and myself, and growing. I now want to introduce to you the 2 icons here with me, Bob Ingram and Bob Brown. They are iconic. Frankly, this is somewhat of a bucket list for me. To actually be on the stage here with the 2 of you, flanked by a wonderful backdrop of cars. But if you look up the meaning, have you ever looked up the meaning of the word Bob, the name Bob?
No. No.
It's famed, brightness, and renown. All of which, actually, it's not who you are, but it's what you have done. You have brought brightness to others around you, which is certainly our perfect lead-in to Going for Gold. And we're going to go ahead and get kicked off on some questions here.
Great.
And I have cheat sheets, so all right. I have down here Mr. Ingram, but we'll say Bob.
Bob.
Okay, but I have to make sure I know which one I'm talking to, right? All right. Mr. Ingram, Bob, share from your perspective the beginnings of the gold standard, how you as a CEO utilize the gold standard to both create and accelerate a culture of health at Glaxo.
Well, Mary Liz, when we first convened 20 years ago, we were largely a group of CEOs in the pharmaceutical and life science industry. And we started to look at what were we doing in our own companies as it related to our benefits programs that would either prevent or detect cancer. And candidly, we were embarrassed because we weren't doing that much. And out of that quick analysis, we identified these 5 pillars, if you will, that still, albeit further refined, drive this effort today. And cancer, like every disease, the best thing is to prevent it. And if you can't prevent it, then to detect it early and navigate patients to the best treatments available. And by doing that, you not only achieve a better clinical outcome for the patient, but it's a good business decision because as a payer, it will save you money. And I think what I'm most proud of, and I commend you, the whole roundtable team, is that we've expanded from that initial group of less than 20 companies to, as you said, over 200 companies. We impact 7+ million lives. And you used the word culture. It's easy to talk about culture. in my experience, and my good friend Bob Brown and I have served together on a couple of corporate boards. And in my experience, the reason mergers and acquisitions seldom deliver their promise isn't because you don't get cost savings. It's because you can't meld together two different cultures and create a new culture that everybody's proud of. And if there's one theme, but more important, one important thing that people can come together on quickly, it's health. It's the most important thing in our lives. It's the most important things in my life aren't my things. It's my health, my family, and my friends. And I count my blessings. But too many of us, myself included, take our health for granted until we're faced with a health crisis. And I think the gold standard is a great model for how a corporation or a company or a private enterprise or an academic institution can make health the cornerstone of your culture and accelerate good health. And so I'm enormously proud of not just where we started, but where we've come to, and I'm excited about where we can go.
And just as you said too, and we're going to be talking about the institutions in a bit, it's a great pivotal time where we can take what we've done well in the corporate sector and pivot that over to the university. So I'm going to pivot over here to you, Mr. Brown, Bob. I want you to give a little bit of a personal of the why, but first of all, you've served on over 60 boards in your lifetime. Advisor to presidents, global ambassadors, civil rights leaders, including Dr. Martin Luther King, and you were also a family advisor to the Mandelas, Nelson Mandela himself. You were also intimately involved in the Cancer Act of 1971. One of you served with President Nixon. You're both cancer survivors, but I want to hear from you because I know this is personal for you. Why is this such a personal initiative for you?
Well, I guess it's so personal because it has affected myself. It's affected many people in my family. My mother died of cancer. My grandmother died of cancer who raised me. I had a sister who died of cancer. I had two brothers who died of cancer. And so many friends and people that I was very close to who died of cancer. So cancer has affected me in a very personal and profound way. And so I have to be, whether I want to or not, I have to be very concerned about cancer. I've been victimized by cancer. I found out early on, quite a number of years ago, that I was a prostate cancer. I had prostate cancer. And I had a lot of treatments and everything, and I survived it. And all these years later, I'm still surviving it, and I'm still moving on. So I'm very grateful. But we need a lot of help. We need more information. We need more of what Bob Ingram has put us together here to do over all these years. And we just need a lot more vigorous things going on in our communities across the country to deal with cancer, because cancer is a mega problem, not major, it's a mega problem.
That's right.
And it deals with people at every level. I don't care how poor you are or how rich you are. Cancer is there, it's waiting on you.
That's right.
And we need to do more.
Yep.
That's why I like what we're doing here.
Amen.
And I think that we can expand our efforts, not only in our communities, but we can expand our efforts in other areas of the world.
Absolutely.
Who do not have access to the information and the technology and everything else that we have. And it would not be that difficult to do that. And so we have a lot of work to do. And so I like what we have done. I like what we are doing, what you're doing, and what Bob is pushing us to do, and others. But there's much more that we can do. I know that in Africa, for instance, countries like Nigeria that has several 100 million people, largest country, the seventh largest country in the world. it's they have lots of cancer, but they don't have the kind of technology. They don't have the kind of science dealing with cancer there as we have. I mean, it's not even close.
Even helping the health systems understand what treatment regimes they need to be and in the quantity they need to be acquiring them based on the time frame that they're able to treat those patients out with that before they expire.
That's right.
Absolutely. And that ought to be a part of what we are doing to convince our government, our health system as a whole, and other entities who are out here fighting cancer to deal with. We don't have to put all of our resources over there and in different parts of the world. We're doing a lot here. We can do more, but we can do more over there because we're doing very little.
Absolutely, Bob.
All right, so far, Bob. Our mission at the CEO Roundtable to make continual progress, as really Bob was just alluding to, toward the elimination of cancer as a personal disease and public health problem through initiatives that reduce the risk of cancer, enable early diagnosis, perfect follow-up question to what he was just talking about, facilitating access to treatment and hastening the discovery of effective therapies. Our partnership with member companies and partnerships with HBCUs and HSIs, while our CEOs are and will be involved, what do you see as the single most critical aspect of success that will bring this to life?
It's a very important question, Mary Liz, and as my good friend Bob just said, cancer knows no boundaries. Racial boundaries, ethnic boundaries, in the certainly developed world, it's the disease as we age, and more of us are living longer and longer lives, that we probably fear the most. And when you listen to Bob's family history, it's not that different than a lot of family histories who have been and who will be impacted by this disease. And I think the opportunity we now have to work with beginning historically Black colleges, universities, Hispanic institutions, it reflects the society of which we now live in. We are a multicultural society, thank goodness. And too often we divide ourselves, and we don't need to. This is an opportunity to come together around proven programs that make early detection and prevention more available, more possible. And I think success to me is, at the end of the day, we reduce the incidence of cancer. Through research, we find better answers to prevent it and treat it. But we also, the benefits to whether it be a corporation or a university, transcend just that community. They go out into the community. And the more we help people understand that this is, whether it be a healthier diet, whether it be regular exercise, whether it be getting your early diagnostic tests, mammographies, PSA tests, colonoscopies, to name three, make those readily available and make sure people understand that it's user-friendly and it's the best thing you can do for yourself and your family. So I've rambled, but I think that to me is the ultimate measure of how successful not only we are, but how we as society are. Our obligation and leadership is, as I said earlier, a privilege, and it's also a responsibility. And with that privilege and responsibility, I think providing better healthcare outcomes and a longer, better life is at the top of the list, whether you're a public servant, or whether you're a corporate leader, or whether you're a university president or leader.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think Bob is right. We have access to more than anybody else in the world. We have access to more science, more knowledge of what's going on, everything there is to offer. We have more of it than anywhere else in the world.
Yep.
So if not us, who? If not now, when?
Exactly.
We have to get on it and stay on it. And I think this group, as much or more than any other group in the country, can have a profound impact on what's going on and what is not going on in our country. We just need to stay on it and vigorously move this game ahead and keep it going all the time. Because there are many people who would love to join us, who would love to be a part of this, whose families and friends have been impacted by cancer in so many different ways. And that's at every level, whether they're a factory worker or whether they're chairman of the board of the largest companies in the world here in America. And we just need to garner that. We need to vigorously pursue that. And I think we would be shocked at the kind of support that we would be getting to do something like that, Bob.
I agree, Bob. And I personally am grateful, but also excited. Bob and I have just been chatting with Mary Liz about the opportunity, say, in a country like Nigeria, which Bob's already highlighted. And I think that personifies an opportunity, but also an obligation that we should take our knowledge, take our resources, share it, let them own it, and drive it from within. But I think this is a universal opportunity for us.
And I think the people in these countries, the leadership, would grab hold of what we have and what we would be offering and run with it.
Yep.
And then we would get additional support from them in not only financially, but in other ways. To vigorously pursue what we're already pursuing.
Addressing the cancer burden right there in their backyard.
Addressing the cancer burden right there before them. It's there. There's no question about that. It's a question of what we're going to do. How are we going to work together to move this thing ahead? And that's what we're talking about.
Agree.
So we have some partners that have already stepped up, that have already agreed to go beyond what they do for us on an annual basis, and in large part because of this movement, because of our going for gold and our partnerships between companies and historically Black colleges and universities and HSIs to begin to kind of, we'll just say, peel it back every bit. So actually, Bob, would you mind talking about, let's start off with Merck. How they have stepped up. Julie Gerberdine's already said a bit about it. So.
And my dear friend Julie has highlighted some of that. And Merck has long been one of America's and the world's greatest companies. And clearly has had from their own DNA is science. And doing what's right for patients has been a key cornerstone of that culture. And my good friend Ken Frazier, who just recently retired as chairman and CEO, African American, had done a phenomenal job of advancing healthcare as part of their culture and health outcomes as part of that culture. And along with that, Merck has always been a leader in vaccines, from the days of measles, mumps, rubella, all the way through now to COVID treatments. So to see Merck take the leadership that they have in advancing the gold standard and going for gold, and Ken's immediate acceptance and enthusiastic endorsement of this, I think, is a great example of corporate responsibility and leadership.
And that has certainly transferred over to Mr. Robert Davis as well. Another Bob, another good Robert. There
another Bob. Yeah.
Also SAS.
Well, SAS, for those of you watching this, is based right here in Cary, North Carolina. Founded and led by my good friend, Dr. Jim Goodnight, world's leader in data analytics and statistics, and consistently voted one of the best places in the world in which to work. And it's because they have a great culture. They have a beautiful campus, but they have a great culture. They were a leader in early childhood care, on-premises preschool. When you go to their cafeterias, which are better than most restaurants, they have a healthy choice line. And they actually, if you eat there regularly, you get your lunch free. Now, Jim understands there's no such thing as a free lunch. But he understands also that if people eat a healthier diet on a regular basis, he's going to spend less on their health care. So, and SAS, as many of you may know, provides the roundtable with free housing, so to speak, and has been a key supporter working with Bill Lube and the Project DataSphere team because it relates to their core mission of data analytics.
Absolutely.
Big supplier of data analysis to the FDA, to the NIH. I couldn't be, as a friend of Dr. Goodnight, but also as a resident of this area, SAS is a treasure for this community, and frankly, a treasure for the world.
Fantastic.
And I must say, I'd highlight one other company, and I'll be chastised by my good friend Bob Bradway, who's too modest.
Bob. Yes.
Another Bob.
Yes.
And the best Bob, if you will. Amgen is a remarkable company, one of the world's most successful biotech companies. But Bob has led a culture there that really makes health and advancing better health for its employees and their families a cornerstone of that culture. As you know, Bob served as our chairman here until just this year, and did so while he has a lot of demands on his time, very unselfishly. And we as a roundtable are stronger and better for Bob's commitment and leadership. And again, to me, Bob is the role model in what a CEO should do and how he conducts himself, both as the leader of Amgen, but as a corporate leader and his commitment to his employees and his community.
Well, and all three of those companies, Merck, SAS, and Amgen, when we were having these conversations and building out what this program could do, they quickly got it right away. They understood their role as connecting with the community, expanding what they're doing in all of their communities to other communities to help prop them up and continue to grow their own cultures of health. And also these HBCUs and HSIs really becoming the owner of that, right? They're lifting the torch. So I want, Bob here beside me, if you can give us the community here, and we have a lot of these HBCUs that are gonna be recognized in a few minutes here. They're on the line with us today, they're watching, but I think it would be very helpful to help everyone truly understand the importance of the HBCU. And HSIs are here too, but HBCUs have a historical reputation. And I think it's really important for our audience to know the importance of HBCUs in our society and really why they were created. They're activists, they're holistic learning environments. I'm not going to share any more, but you have a couple of favorites in there because I know you attended a few. So I'm going to toss it to you to share a little bit about the history of HBCUs and why they are where they are today.
Well, they started out after the Civil War. And because there was no real education set up for Black people in America, and these HBCUs were founded by different church groups and others because they felt that if Black people are going to be a central part of America and work on their citizenship and everything else and do what they're supposed to do, they have to be educated.
Right.
How are you going to do anything and you're not educated? And I think that's what sparked all of this after the Civil War, for the most part. And many of these HBCUs were founded during that time. They were initially founded through church groups and others, the Methodist Church, all kinds of church groups were founded in HBCUs, and they were because they felt that Black people need to be educated, and just like everybody else. I mean, if you're going to be a real contributor to our country and to our way of life, how can you contribute something and you can't read what's on a piece of paper?
Exactly.
You got to be able to read and write and understand the dynamics of what we need, what your family needs, what your community needs, your church needs, and you can't do that without some measure of education. And they realized that early on. Thank God that they did. And as a result, these HBCUs were founded, and many of them are still around, and most of them are still around, and they're thriving.
That's right.
But they need more and more help to not only thrive, but to make the kind of contribution that's necessary for them to do the work that they have to do for America, not just for Black people, but for all people.
That's right.
And so they are a central part of what we're all about as a country.
That's right. Because
before these HBCUs, Black people didn't have a chance. I mean, no education. I mean, there were a few now and then who would be sent up to Harvard or one of those other schools, but generally speaking, there was no education for Black people. And so now what we have seen is sort of a revolution that has taken place in our country, a good revolution, an extensive revolution, and it's still taking place.
Right.
And it still needs to be expanded because there's still so many young people, particularly in the Black community, who are still not going to institutions of higher education, who are still not doing what they need to be doing. And so our group and what we're doing, not only for cancer, but what this does for people across the board, is let people know that here we have a responsibility and we have a journey here that we need to ride this thing out. We need to work together, not just leave it all to the government to do, because the government can't do it all. Right. We have to be involved.
That's right.
And so I thank God for the Bob Ingrams of the world and for you and others like you and all the work that you continue to do and what you've done. It's not only important, it's essential to our society that we keep this work going. It's not just a feel-good deal. We're not here just to feel good and to make us happy and to make us think that we're doing something. We are doing something. We're doing a lot. But more needs to be done. And that's what we're concentrating on here. And I hope that what we're doing will sort of give some impetus and give rise to others to do the same thing and maybe even try to outshine us, whatever we're doing. Amen. Do more.
And in the words of your grandmother, you can't go wrong doing right. Also, the book that you authored. And let's talk about all that right that is beginning to build up due to really Amgen, Merck, and SAS launching us into this first phase. Right. We have many phases, and as you said, Bob, too, we're going to finish what we start.
Exactly.
So we're just getting started in this arena here, and we're looking forward to working with these universities. So let's talk about our universities, our first class of universities that we will be bringing on board in this first class. By the way, to just demonstrate a little bit of the excitement that's rolling with this program, we had Stillman College out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, last night that called us and said, hey, we're in. We want to do this. So, Stillman, I know that you're on the line. Thank you, President Cynthia Warwick and Dean Marcus Kennedy. We salute you. We look forward to boasting your work there with our members and with our contributors here as we move forward. So, we're going to start off with Shaw University. They are right down the street, not too far from where we are. They're located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Shaw was founded in 1865, and there began its long history of leadership and activism. Shaw is the oldest HBCU in the South, and they were the first to admit women. So there's no surprise that Shaw is going to be the first to the stage today. When Shaw hears that call to action to stand up for others and be part of a solution, they are there. So working closely with Dr. Lynette Wood, Dr. Valerie Johnson, and Barbara Jackson, and having Shaw be the first to rise and take this opportunity to accelerate health, to partner and create a gold community of health comes as no surprise. They have undergraduate studies in areas of social work, healthcare, justice studies, and divinity, as you were just mentioning, Mr. Brown, all connect with the community outreach this grassroots movement drives. And the president, Paulette R. Dillard. By the way, she's a cell biologist.
That's right.
She's a co-director for National Institutes of Health and National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities. Let's watch their trailer for Shaw Rising, a recently released documentary.
We purchased the Behringer estate, which for the beauty of its grounds had been the pride of the people of the city. This purchase also stirred up no little opposition among the white people. And thus, while we succeeded at last in obtaining a valuable property, we had at the same time excited great indignation against us. Henry Martin Tupper.
You can't have racism if you don't have power. Henry Martin Tupper has robbed me of the ability to have bias against white people. He was a white man who was a Union chaplain, who at the end of the war decided to stay and to teach newly freed slaves how to read and how to write.
There's a saying that without knowledge, the people perish. As the oldest HBCU in the South, Shaw has led the way.
So powerful trailer, by the way. That's a full hour documentary. We're going to load it up on our website after this, so people will be able to see that as well there. But as you were mentioning earlier, activism is deeply rooted in HBCUs. And you did quite a bit of that and still do. But Shaw was very active in the Woolworth sit-in.
That's right.
So want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes, Shaw was very active in Woolworth and in the civil rights movement. The presidents, the students, their board. It was, I was very active myself because I was on both sides. I was on all sides. I represented Woolworth and A&P stores and a lot of other companies for many, many years, for several decades. And also served on the board of a lot of companies. But I also was heavily involved with the black colleges in America. I served on the board of quite a number of them, like Virginia Union. At one point, I served on Shaw's board. I served on a lot of different boards. I served on Martin Luther King Jr.'s board, and just a lot of them. And what we were trying to do is get people to come together to serve the people who needed help in our communities, because the black community pretty much has been cut off from any kind of help for all kinds of things, whether it was medicine or whether it was education. We couldn't go to certain schools. We couldn't, in hospitals alone, there would be maybe one or two little beds over here in a corner somewhere, and that was supposed to be served the black community. There were all kinds of things. I grew up in that era. I'm old enough to have grown up in that era where we couldn't go to a lot of places. We couldn't go get a hot dog. We couldn't go to a drive-in and get a sandwich or Coca-Cola. I grew up in that era, and I decided myself that I was working in New York as a federal agent. And I quit my job. I resigned my job and came back home to North Carolina. And I couldn't, at that particular time, I couldn't go in a Woolworth store and get a Coca-Cola or a sandwich and eat it there or drink it in the store. And Woolworth became my first major client. And they remained a client for almost 40 years. And I worked for a lot of other companies who had many of the problems. And we shifted that. Before it was over, Woolworth was supporting black colleges. They had blacks working at every level. There were blacks on the board of directors, the blacks in the executive suite. But that's what America is all about. That's what America's supposed to be about. That's what and to some extent, many companies and organizations have gotten away from that now. I mean, there's so many companies and organizations who do not directly deal with the black community. And I think there are many people who are upset about that, both in our church groups, our schools, and other things. We have to get rid of that because we are all Americans. We're all supposed to be here together, because if Russia comes over here and drops a bomb, they're not going to drop a bomb on your house, they're going to drop a bomb on my house and everybody else's house. You know, so we're all in this together. And we need to act like we're in it. You know, we're going to build a country. We need to build it together. We need to lift up each other. And that's what this organization is all about. We have, the cancer thing has taken over large portions of our society all across the world. And now here we are again, trying to lift that fight up to a whole nother level and keep it going here in America and in other places. And that's what this is all about, helping each other.
Yeah, and the messaging that you're sharing here, I mean, I'll take this kind of a little bit closer to home. Just recently, whenever we had the vaccine that was rolling out, Shaw took the bull by the horns and said, hey, we're going to open up a vaccine clinic right here. And they did it in concert with J&J, one of our contributing members here. So that's a thread of, we probably need to hop on to the next one with Southern University. But welcome, Shaw University, to this esteemed group as we launch in here. So let's move on to Southern University Law Center. They're located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Southern is part of the 5-university system. They are the only university system in the HBCUs. They have been blazing trails since 1947, and they are one of the most diverse schools of law in the United States. We are so thankful for the work and commitment of Dr. Marla Dickerson in helping this to be brought to life on the Southern University Law Center campus. By the way, Dr. Dickerson quickly said, well, can we just go ahead and bring in all 5 schools? So we're going to get there too. So she's going to be leading that. But Jean Pierre was certainly a major contributor to this, Chancellor Jean Pierre and his work. And he's going to be delivering a message here, speaking about the Southern University Law Center.
Since its founding, the institution has continued to evolve as a place that promotes access, opportunity, diversity, and excellence that really has been transformational for all graduates. Those graduates in turn transform their communities. As 21st century technology demands more agile attorneys, the Law Center now focuses on creating the next generation of legal entrepreneurs who understand patents, innovation, and business development. In 70 years, Southern University Law Center has seen tremendous growth and over 3,000 graduates, all made possible by those who held open doors since 1947.
What our students do who graduate from Southern University Law Center is they're trailblazers. They create new opportunities in whatever endeavor they engage in, whether it be in the judiciary, whether it be in corporate America, whether it be in government, whether it be in the nonprofit arena. We are trailblazers, and our students have to create paths that sometimes don't exist because of their vision and their tenacity.
Today I came from India on a leave of absence as judge and went to Berkeley, and there Dr. Martin Luther King made a speech to the group on the steps of the university, and there he talked about good things. And after the program, he asked me, what are you doing? I said, I may stay here in America. I said, go to the South. Well, that's where the action is. Law school, this law school changed the entire system in America, in Louisiana especially. We got the top lawyers from this place. Our graduates worked with, of course, me and the governor at that time, and got this system of electing judges. And we got a lot of judges. We have more judges in the state who happen to be Southern graduates than anywhere else proportionately in the country.
As a student, Southern University was more of a family than just attending law school. The teachers cared. You were more than just a number. They knew your name. They knew your family members' names. Anything you needed, they always had the open door policy. You can come in to talk to them about anything.
So perfect message from Chancellor Pierre. And of course, we're not surprised that he was one of the first to raise his hand, and he will continue to work tirelessly to bring this to life on the campus there. Each campus kind of brings a little bit of difference to the gold standard and how they will contribute. And I know that we've talked about this before, but speak a little bit about the law school and the impact that they can have on gold standard.
Well, as my friend Bob highlighted, Mary Liz, we all know who take an interest in this area that we have healthcare disparities. And I think the Southern University Law Center can be a real partner with us on the policy area so that we reduce those disparities through better healthcare policy and advocacy. And I'm personally really proud to see them join us in this Going for Gold effort. And I think we can go, this will help go a long way toward reducing those healthcare disparities that we know exist.
Bob, do you want to make any other comments on them? I know that you know Chancellor Pierre.
Well, they've done a great job down there in Louisiana.
They're looking at food insecurities down there as well. That's part of their other element that that university does as well.
Yeah, and I've spent a great deal of time in Louisiana over the last 40 years and one of the key persons from Louisiana that I still work with, and I'm on his board, is Mark Morial, who was in the state legislature there. He is the national head of the Urban League, and I'm the longest serving board member of the National Urban League, so I work very closely with Mark. I've known him a great deal of his life. His father, who was mayor of New Orleans, was one of my closest friends. And
we need to get National Urban League in on this. And
yes,
that would be awesome.
There were others like that, and I don't think we'd have any problem with getting Urban League and a number of other organizations. Many of the church organizations, we need to especially get them because they're right out there with the masses.
Yep.
And so I think the effort ought to be expanded to make sure that all of these people are brought into what we're trying to do here. I think is essential to the success of the project.
Fantastic. We're going to travel again a little bit close to home, really close to home for you. We're going to actually travel over to look at North Carolina A&T and some of the Aggie pride there. They've actually just celebrated 130 years in education. They're the largest HBCU in the U.S., and they boast many degree programs that certainly align directly with us and the gold standard, inclusive of nursing, social work, health communication, by the way, is a new school that they just brought on board there. And they're excited to be able to segue messaging and help us with messaging and through the communication, which can also be certainly applicable to any company today. I mean, health messaging is certainly there. We also talk about the health equity and the part of the equation in nutrition and food insecurities, and the triad ranking 14th in the nation in food insecurity. So I know actually my son has been working with you through a food pantry there that he's very excited about. So we are grateful for the leadership of Dr. Lonnie Cockrum, and he serves as a gold champion on the campus there. So let's hear about the power of do and the Aggie pride. Please roll the video.
Being a champion requires more than just strength and training. It's a mindset, one that believes you can be the very best. At North Carolina A&T, we applaud our Olympian medalists and members of the United States, Mexico, and Liberia national teams. Watching Trevor Stewart and Randall Ross Jr. make history in Tokyo were moments we'll never forget. We also applaud the 13,000 Aggies who were champions in so many other ways, from creating self-driving automobiles to landing nationally competitive scholarships, to changing the face of STEM careers across America. It's often said at A&T that Aggies do. Well, don't think for a second that Aggie champions are ever done. North Carolina A&T, home of champions.
So, Mr. Brown, I'm going to ask you to comment on your good friend Chancellor Martin there, who's leading the way, it seems, as always.
Well, Harold Martin is a great human being. Sure is. He worked with the university system for several years. Then he became chancellor of, I think, Winston State at first, and then chancellor of A&T. And he's been there for a number of years, and from the first day he was there, he started lifting everything up. And now it's one of the most successful of all of the black universities, black-dominated universities in the country. In fact, he has the largest one in the country. And Harold is a great administrator. He's a wonderful human being, but he pursues excellence. That's what I love about him. Yeah. And no holds barred. It doesn't make any difference who you are, what the situation is. Excellence, excellence. And that's what he preaches, and that's where A&T is now, and that's where it's going. That's where it's going to be, as long as he's there. And when he retires, we need to get another person just like Harold Martin.
When they opened up their wellness center, during COVID to do COVID testing and also vaccination. And that's what they want to continue rolling there at North Carolina A&T through Gold Standard, opening and broadening up on the oncology side and talking about wellness and prevention and early detection through that wellness center. So we really look forward to carrying that thread. All right, so we also had this summer, we had this pleasure of speaking with Dr. Gaston at Norfolk State University. They were founded in 1935. They have stellar degrees in social work, nursing, psychology, and healthcare. They were in the throes, as all campuses were, in how to message to students the return, just as you as corporations and other presidential leaders, too messaged about healthy return to campus. She asked we share this message with you, in which they shared to demonstrate their culture that cares. Let's hear from Dr. Javon Adams Gaston.
Hello, Spartans. Today I'd like to talk with you about vaccinations. As you know, the COVID-19 virus, Delta variant, is being very disruptive to our community and dangerous to us all. When we started out thinking about the fall semester, we were looking at new numbers that were decreasing. With the Delta variant, we have increases in numbers of cases. In fact, our Governor, Ralph Northam, has reported that 99% of new cases, 99% of hospitalizations, and unfortunately, 99% of deaths are from people who are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated. We must do better. We must keep our community safe and give each of us the opportunity to live a long and prosperous life. To that end, Norfolk State University, starting this fall, will require that all of our community be vaccinated, including students, faculty, and staff. We understand that some of you will have religious reasons or health reasons why you cannot participate in vaccinations, and that will be honored. But for this community, we need to be the model of excellence. We need to be the model of a culture of care, and we need to ensure that each person in our community has the opportunity to grow and develop to their full potential without being concerned about the virus. At NSU, we have a culture of care. Behold the green and gold.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. So I'm going to toss it over to Bob Ingram over here to share a bit about reaction to that video.
Well, I was very impressed with Dr. Adams' message about the culture of care at Norfolk State. That university sits in an area where we have a large military presence, and to see a university leader talking about a whole community that Norfolk State is a key part of, emphasizing vaccines. That's the ultimate expression during a time of pandemic of care, is the encouragement, the availability, and the, if you will, policy that says we believe in vaccination. Obviously, if there's legitimate either healthcare or religious concerns, you deal with that. But the more people we can get vaccinated, the sooner this pandemic will be behind us. And it's great to see university leaders like Dr. Adams being advocates for that.
She's also a cancer survivor.
And a cancer survivor.
She's a cancer survivor, and she quickly raised her hand around that.
Yep.
Our next university, another North Carolina university, is another great example of our fifth pillar around well-being and spiritual purpose. Affiliated with the AME Zion Church, they work in partnership with UNC Health. They're connected to well-being, and we know by talking through Dr. State Alexander, Kimberly Harrington, Tracy Johnson, and President Jenkins. Dr. Jenkins said, absolutely. Why wouldn't Livingstone do this? We already are. That was his remarks back. So it is the Livingstone way to do well and to live well. Exactly what going for gold is. Let's watch his message.
Welcome to Livingstone College. Here's a brief word from our 12th president, Dr. Jimmy R. Jenkins, Sr.
I'm Dr. Jimmy R. Jenkins, the 12th president of Livingstone College, and I want to welcome you to this tour of our campus. Although it is virtual, I recognize that a picture's worth 1,000 words, but I also know that if you were able to visit us in person, you would be amazed at what we have done and the beauty of our campus. We have taken every precaution from the CDC, from various other state and local and federal agencies. We're making sure that all of the protocols are in place. We're an institution that is student-centered. We have an excellent record in academics. We have an excellent record in athletics. We started black college football back in 1892, and so we are excited about that.
People are looking for a place that feels like home, a place with the gateway to excellence, a place deeply rooted in its community and black college football history, a place where you're not just another tuition payment. You're a son, a daughter, a mother, a father, and most importantly, you're a friend, which makes you family and Livingstone. So when they ask why Livingstone, say why not. For more information, visit us at livingstone.edu.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. And I want to bring out a special attention to this because one of the reasons why Livingstone wanted to engage in this effort was for obvious reasons in the messaging, but also their strong connection and their influence that they felt like the AME Zion Church could bring into outreach into the community. I want you to speak on that for just a tad bit here.
Well, as a member all my life of the AME Zion Church, which spreads across America and Africa and several other places across the world, I think it's not only important but essential that Livingstone College, which is the major educational institution of the AME Zion Church that it supports, be a part of this, and that they be in the front of it, in the vanguard, that they're urging everybody in these churches and the tens of thousands of churches that are around all over America and the world, that they urge the people to come together and let's get these shots and whatever else that they have. Yeah. And that's the way the AME Zion Church has survived. That's the way Livingstone College has survived, of coming together.
That's how we as people survive.
That's exactly the people. That's the only way we're going to keep it going. And that's what we have to do. We have to do what we have to do because this is life-threatening. This is nothing that we can stand on the side and say, oh, well, I'll get that later on.
No.
Oh, yeah. You're going to get it sooner or later. If this virus keeps going out and spreading out all over the place, yeah, you're going to get it. But it'll probably be sooner than later. So we have to get all of these groups together. The AME Zion Church, the Lutheran Church, all the Methodists, all the Catholics, everybody. Black and white, blue and green, whoever they are. Because this is threatening our nation. This is threatening our world. And we've seen it. People are dying all around us. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to have proof anymore. I mean, the proof is there. Yeah. All you have to do is go around to the Undertaker shops and people, it's full of people.
Right. So, I mean, it's you're seeing all these themes and how each one of these universities are really, they're going to take on the gold standard differently, which is exactly what we need for them to do because it's most relevant and reflects their effort and their community. So we're going to, we have two more universities here that we want to go through, and that's Dillard University. They're a 152-year-old institution. They're located right back in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. They have a School of Health and Wellness and Nursing and are just some of the degree programs that will work closely with us as we work to achieve and sustain communities of health, both on and around the campus. Spiritual purpose and well-being connected with the Methodist Church. They're thankful, and we are thankful, for the groundwork we have began with Tiffany Kirkwood, Eddie Francis, Dr. Yolanda Page. By the way, Dr. Page runs and actually developed the Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Center on the campus there, and she's working with us to lead this effort. Let's hear from Dillard University as they go for gold.
Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Center at Dillard University has a mission of taking a comprehensive approach to advancing research across disciplinary areas to enhance and promote coordination and collaboration throughout the scientific community, and to improve the overall quality of health for racial and ethnic minorities. Complementing the center's mission is its vision, a vision which entails developing an infrastructure equipped with advanced technologies, training opportunities, and community network alliances to facilitate and enhance the work of highly skilled and motivated faculty, researchers, and students. Both the mission and the vision of the Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Center are accomplished through 4 objectives. 1, to enhance the academic environment by recruiting and retaining acclaimed leaders and experts in the respective fields of environmental health, global health, nursing, and public health. Number 2, enhancing the academic environment by recruiting and retaining motivated and committed racial and ethnic minority students. Number 3, strengthening Dillard's research infrastructure by merging the Dillard Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Center with the National Institutes on Minority Health and Health Disparities Endowment Program, which maximize resources across multidisciplinary areas and inspire innovative approaches for health disparities research. And then the 4th objective is developing unique hands-on curriculum concentration formed around the needs of the communities that will create and strengthen challenging courses in health disparities and research. The Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Center at Dillard University is dedicated to improving the health of underserved populations in New Orleans and surrounding regions, as well as providing research on health and healthcare inequalities among races and people.
Fantastic. And Dillard, by the way, they're going to be working with us beginning the top of the year on a few webinars around data and disparities. Also be synchronized in with Project DataSphere. So we're really excited to be bringing them on board to collaborate and bring on more data, more relevant data out there we can utilize. The next institution, our last institution to round out this first class, is Winston-Salem State University. We're keeping it home. They are nestled right here in the Triad part of North Carolina, and they were founded in 1892. They are part of the university system of North Carolina, just as North Carolina A&T is. They have strong programs in health sciences and even have a hands-on wellness mobile unit. They actually plan to have that here with us today to be in person, and unfortunately we're not in person today. But their motto there is enter to learn and depart to serve. Let's watch.
We see an evolution and a shift at the university in and around the 1950s when we first started getting involved in nursing. As a result of that, I think for the past almost 70 years, Winston-Salem State University has been critical to the overall workforce in terms of the health industry in this region, and certainly expanding throughout the state. In the system, we can't educate enough nurses. So I think we're making a considerable impact in terms of the health field and health-related industries in this state. We continue to do that by being also innovative in some of our programs. We're also one of the few HBCU programs that have a PhD, a doctor of physical therapy. And that's important for us in terms of our graduate program. Our motto, if you go around the university and you ask students, what is WSSU's motto? Most students will blurt it out, enter to learn and depart to serve. And that's been a key driver almost around every single thing that we do. Healthcare is a tremendous need, but you don't get a lot of people who are going into some of these hard to reach communities. Winston-Salem State University has made a commitment that that's how we're going to educate our students. So when someone applies to Winston-Salem State University, if they're coming into one of our health-related majors, they know that a key part of that is service, and a key part of that is community service and giving back. Our nurses, our doctor of physical therapists, they get involved in the community almost from day one, going into them and giving back to the community. We here at Winston-Salem State University believe that we make our greatest impact in this area. We are one of the only HBCUs in the country with a mobile health clinic. And now I tell people we were the only one that had one, now we have two. And that's important in terms of how we educate and how we train, but how we give back to the community. And as they do medical screenings and health screenings and invariably we find someone who is suffering from high blood pressure, high cholesterol level. These screenings now give folks information that they can use to go back and hopefully get high quality health care. So we think we're making a big difference in that arena.
Well, of course, yet another board that you did serve on. I think maybe you served on that board at one time too. No, okay, all right. Well, obviously, been a fantastic time here. I just want to say thank you for the conversation among friends. May your spirit of leadership and commitment to serve and live through this Going for Gold effort. We want to encourage everyone to check the mission tab on the conference site, and in the future content, you'll see a series of webinars for 2022. Don't go anywhere, we still haven't finished yet. The content certainly includes the Health Summit for our Going for Gold partners, addressing workplace health and the burdens post-pandemic for everyone, and shaping diverse VC portfolios will be a new area where we will push forward, especially with our Going for Gold partner universities. Bob, I toss it back over to you to close us out here with a special message.
Well, I just want to echo your thanks to these universities and their leadership. I think it's only fitting that we sit here today in Durham, North Carolina, the home of another historically black college and university, North Carolina Central.
Yeah, they haven't signed up yet.
And yet we need to get them on board. And I suspect that between my good friend Bob and myself, we can take that as an assignment. But North Carolina, Virginia, Louisiana, we're in the South, and that's where a large percentage of our black population lives. And as Bob said, without an education, you limit yourself. And we can take pride in how far we've come, but we've still got a long way to go. And what better area to come together around than advancing health, and within advancing health, advancing better outcomes for cancer. Again, it knows no boundaries, and sadly, it often afflicts the minority community even more so than the general population. So I'm personally grateful and very proud of the Going for Gold start here, and look forward to real continued success.
And now we have a video message that we are ready to roll from you to our partners. Bob Brown.
First, let me say thank you. Thank you for standing up for patients everywhere. I know firsthand the commitment you have had over the last 20 years in making an impact on access to care, patient navigation, and clinical trials. I know this personally because I am a cancer survivor. My late wife, Sally, was a 15-year survivor with 5 different diagnoses and participated in 10 different clinical trials. These not only extended her life and quality of life, but also created scientific breakthroughs that others would benefit from. So thank you for staying the course. It is a course that brings me here today to ask you to stand up with me and I with you as we take on health equity in partnership, as we launch an initiative that will change the next generation's health outcomes. The Historically Black Colleges and Universities Partnership is a natural for the CEO Roundtable on Cancer. You are delivering on diversity and inclusion in your workforce. Yet in the space of health equity in our communities, we can all rise up and accomplish so much through engagement, collaboration, your leadership, and your voice. I have friends from all over the world and have had the opportunity to stand beside the extraordinary Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His often quoted statement still rings true today. Of all forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and the most inhumane because it often results in physical death. And I know ensuring diversity and health equity is no longer just a matter of social justice. In the 21st century, those organizations that refuse to embrace this will be at a competitive disadvantage. Health equity is an absolute evolution that is critical right now in all of our lives. We must embrace this together. We can and we will. I look forward to working with you on this grassroots effort that will impact millions of lives. As an alumnus of a historically black college and university right here in my home state of North Carolina, I thank you for stepping forward and being counted and committed to make a difference. Lives depend on us. Lives depend on you. My grandmother always said, you can't go wrong doing right. And this is right at every turn. May God continue to bless you, and God bless America.